Yes, and Jelani Asar here with Income Protection Atlanta. First things first, go to incomeprotectionatlanta.com. Right now, just open up a new tab or a new browser in Firefox or whatever your browser may be. Go to incomeprotectionatlanta.com and join our email list so you can receive your free report entitled Protect My Income in Atlanta, only for you if you desire more financial security in this volatile and chaotic economy. And now let's get to our interview with another mesmerizing Atlanta business owner.
Right. Yeah, and since you brought it up, talk a little bit more about that. I mean, first of all, could you give a brief overview of what you provide through Legal Shield and the Go Small Biz program, and then specifically diving into this idea of using it as a business resource, not just this thing that you use for yourself and your family, but something that can really, really help out businesses, small businesses especially.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the bottom line is that individuals need attorneys as well as businesses, but businesses really need them, and they get in trouble basically if they don't use them. Legal Shield as a company, and as you mentioned it, formerly Prepaid Legal, is a unique service. There really is no other place to get the service that we offer people, because what it does is it gives you the ability to talk to an attorney on any matter without worrying about a high hourly cost. And, the average attorney right now for individuals is around $200 an hour. The average attorney for a business is around $300 an hour. And I think they topped out at $1,000 an hour in New York recently. They kind of broke that barrier. So it's very expensive to talk to a lawyer. So to be able to pick up the phone and talk to a lawyer without worrying about those high hourly costs is really pretty amazing. So one flat monthly fee, and it varies from individual to the business plan, but it starts as low as $17. That 1 month flat monthly fee can access legal advice no matter how traumatic or trivial the issue. And what's important about that is that we leave a lot of trivial matters on the table. We say, well, it's not worth dealing with that.
Yeah.
And the opposite is true, because those trivial matters add up. And in fact, when I first had heard about Prepaid Legal in 1992, didn't get it until 98. And in those years, when I did not have it, I went back after I understood it and added up what it would have cost me if I had been able to have that, if I'd had the service, and that's a couple of $1,000.
Wow.
It did cost me not having the service was $100,000.
Wow.
So you pay for the service,
no way.
Or not in a sense. I mean, you pay for it not having it, and I'll tell you, it was obviously way more expensive not to have the service. And what I realize now, after having been a member for over 14 years, I'm a member, my husband's a member through his with his business. What I've realized is for what it's done for us is made us just much more aware of what we're doing, and we don't sit there and go, well, what should we do here? We just pick up the phone and call the lawyers and say, this is what we're thinking about doing. What do you think? What's your advice to us? And that's really the bottom line, is that you're able to get advice about things. You're able to run it by somebody. And just that, if that's all we did, that would be great. But we do much, much more than that. We help you with contracts. We write letters for you. We give you a will. 80% of the population does not have an up-to-date will, which means that families are going to be in a mess it's not an if, it's when you die, because unfortunately we're all going to die. But only 80% of us are planning for that. And something that's as important as where our children going to be raised, or what's going to happen to the various it might not be a monetarily important things that you own, but there are family items that people, they don't want to end up fighting about it. Really, lack of a will has destroyed families.
I bet.
So
I mean, especially when you add in the fact that there's just been a death in the family, and then you start seeing people's the hidden side come out. It's kind of like a caged beast that everybody knows is there, right?
Right.
But now is the time for this thing to be let loose, and then you compound it with the death in the family, and then you have to bring in, and then the government gets involved. And well, I mean, that is just bad news.
Yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah, and most people are quite frankly ignorant of what the consequences are. They say, well, I don't have much. I know I've got a couple of kids, but I don't really own that much. And I'm sure that the children will go to my husband. Well, what if you and your husband die at the same time? Or I'm sure the kids will go to grandparents. We've had situations where there were grandparents ready to take kids, but because there was no will, the government came in and assessed whether the grandparents were capable,
oh gosh,
or had the right living conditions and whatnot, and determined that they weren't, and the kids were put into foster care.
Oh,
so
that is disgusting.
We hear a lot of amazing things and pretty sad situations. So and when it's so little money, $17 a month. And I look back now and I think in 1992, what was my husband and I thinking that we wouldn't spend this money when we were running businesses? And so he's had the business membership, which is $75 a month for the business, and he's had that now going on 13 years. And as his business was kind of hitting the skids a little bit, he started to look at how he could cut costs. Well, $75 a month in his business is 0.02% of his budget. So then that's what people will find. It's a tiny, tiny percentage of your budget. But I'll tell you what, it's going to pay off if you have it, because you're doing your business right. You're looking after things. You're collecting the money that you should. You're making sure you don't get yourself into trouble, because saving expenses get tough out.
Right. I mean, just earlier today, I was reading from Employee Benefits News magazine that there's a story about the cost of healthcare for businesses providing healthcare, and it was saying that on average, 20 cents out of every single dollar of revenue is swallowed by healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, don't get me started on healthcare, because I'm a Canadian. But for the record, the healthcare system in Canada works. It's great. It works down here, so that's just the Canadian giving you a perspective. But that's there's a lot of things that businesses are. Challenges that businesses have, and the last thing you want to do is be in a situation where you've done everything right, you've worked your business as hard as you could, and you put your all into it, and then somebody comes along and sues you. There's a credible site called the Face of. Let me see. I just looked at it. Sorry. It's the face of lawsuit abuse, or faces of lawsuit abuse. And if you go to lawsuitabuse.org, so facesoflawsuitabuse.org, and you can go on Facebook. They have a Facebook page, and see the kinds of challenges that businesses have, and where they're doing everything right, but somebody comes along and they get sued, and the result is that they're in a situation where they've got I'll give you a quick story. One guy, and we have suit protection in our plan. I had one guy tell me that he was sued because of somebody he hired. Their employer, not the last employer, the one before that, so 2 employers back, claimed that he had stolen some intellectual property, and they sued the employers that hired the guy. They sued everybody. And, of course, it was a frivolous lawsuit, but it cost this poor business owner $13,000 before he got out of it.
Jeez.
So it's, it's very expensive. There's no two ways about it. It's very, very expensive. And, how would this person ever have known that this was going to happen?
Right.
Had he had our plan, he probably wouldn't have paid a penny out of pocket.
Mm. And we know that you used to produce documentaries. How did you go from producing documentaries to getting into direct sales?
I was starving.
Starving artist.
Yeah, starving artist.
And wonderful. And join us for our next part of another fantastic interview with our great guest, with another amazing Atlanta business owner. In the next video.